As a bystander living in Korea, it is sometimes extremely hard to talk with people who have unwavering convictions about something. And one thing I noticed about people today is that they hold such firm affirmations and presumptions about something or someone that they absolutely have no idea about. And this gets especially tricky if the other person already determines who you are without actually taking the time to get to know you. And this happens quite frequently. So whenever I meet new people here in Korea, they often judge me by my looks, judge by my hairstyle, judge by my choice of fashion, because I don't have that typical generic K-drama dandy cut refined style that you often see online. So whenever I met new people, they would always use this description. They said, 개성 있다. 개성 있다 is a Korean umbrella term that describes anything that is distinctive and unique. So, for example, if you go outside wearing any kind of bold outfit, Korean people might say, "Oh, 개성 있으시네요. 개성 있다." And, I don't mind being called 개성 있다, but after a while, it stopped sounding like a genuine compliment and started sounding more like a label people attached to me automatically. You know what I mean? It kind of felt like anyone with long hair and a bit of a stubble just got thrown into this unique guy category. And once you are in this category, they start assuming you like the same music, think the same way, and have the same interests as everyone else who looks similar. And to be honest, I used to make a lot of presumptions myself about other people when I was in my 20s too. So I especially focused on how the other person dressed. And frankly, if they had poor taste according to my standards, I often kind of ignored them, looked down on them, thinking that I was better. And yeah, I was very immature and egotistical back then, which I am still working on to this day. But recently, I was able to see how obsessive we have become with this categorization of people in our society when I applied for this specific job position. So this was a job opening at a language institution looking for a discussion leader who is fluent in English. So yeah, thinking that this job might be a perfect fit for me, I started filling out the Google Doc online application. And while I was filling this out, there was one section that asked me for my MBTI, which is a personality indicator that you can take online for free. And at first I thought, okay, this is fun. These guys are innovative and young, they're youthful. They're asking me for my MBTI, right? And then it reminded me of an interview that I had in my 20s. And during the interview, the hiring manager asked me for my MBTI. And the moment I told them what my MBTI was, it felt like the interview was already over. So, remembering this, I had to think about this carefully. So on the Google Doc application, I wrote down that I would love to talk about my MBTI once we have a chance to sit down together face to face and get to know each other. And it's been about a week now, and I never heard from them. So I guess that's out the window. So this is how the world works now. This is how the world revolves these days. And there's a big lesson to be learned here, I thought. So the world, including Korea, does not have the patience to see people for who they are anymore, right? They just don't have the energy nor the mental capacity to assess someone truthfully and thoroughly. And I thought to myself, if you want to succeed in the current era, you have to master the skill of branding yourself. Look at it like a USDA prime beef grading, right? It's all about proving your premium value in society. So in dating, for example, your intelligence, wisdom, and character, they don't give you that top prime beef grading because they're not visible to the eye. What matters more is how intelligent you look, how wise you look, and how stoic you look. You know what I mean? That is why modern fashion trends focus on vintage effect aesthetics rather than genuine vintage. That's why they focus on things that emphasize playing a character through costumes using words like poetcore or old money aesthetics. Because becoming a poet, becoming a real poet, is less worth it than looking like one in the modern world. And the same goes for your job too, right? Why spend time introspecting and building discipline for yourself and building your professionalism when you can just pretend, right? Because it only takes seconds to post generic business quotes on LinkedIn at 4:30 p.m. on a Friday afternoon, right? So in the end, it's less about who you actually are and more about who you seem to be. And maybe I can apply the same concept here. Maybe if I wanted more people to watch my videos, I would have to step it up and start copying thumbnails from big channels and use the same titles. But I digress too much. So I guess what I can conclude is this. Everyone now is too lazy to find out the truth, and that's why people settle for little cues they find, and they build up a whole notion around these small little cues. And given that this is what modern society looks like, you have two options, right? You can either design those little cues so that you can trick people to like you and accept you into their circle and master the art of deception, I would say. Or you can ignore all those stupid little cues and work on yourself in solitude until you become the man you truly want to be. So the question would be, what's it gonna be?